Welcome to the Health Angle Podcast with Dr. Mike Headlee and Dr. Gordon Fimreite, where we'll be exploring different angles of health to achieve the best version of yourself. Now here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Gordon.
Welcome to the Health Angle.
Welcome, everyone. Today's subject is a very important subject. It's on vitamins, supplements, but it also includes minerals, enzymes, and herbs. So I think, Dr. Mike, we're going to have a lot of good information for people. Before we start, I kind of want to preface this. I think this is really important. We are here for educational entertainment, and we're not giving medical advice. So if someone's under care with a medical doctor, you are on medication or over the counter, of course, consult with your physicians to make sure everything's a go. So with that said, Mike, why don't you lead us off, and then I'll join in as we go.
Yeah, as an overview, I believe we should get 80 or upwards of 90% of our nutrients from a really healthy, clean diet. However, there's some things our body don't make, and we just need to complement a healthy diet. And so a lot of people say supplements, and they just go buy whatever's cheap at Walmart or Costco or whatever. But I think supplements and vitamins and minerals complement a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet. What do you think about that?
I agree with you 100%. I do think there's challenges in the environment. We have more toxicities in our food and runoffs from agriculture. We got more chemicals and toxins in our water supply. There's a lot of challenges. And let's be frank, it's really hard to live a healthy lifestyle in today's world. You kind of have to go out of your way. Even some of the restaurants, you think, oh, this is going to be great food. It's going to be healthy. Maybe not so healthy. Some of the components that they put on your sandwiches might not be as healthy for you. But before we start, Dr. Mike, I just want to say something that I thought was really interesting. Years ago, you told me a story, and it was about you having a whole new shelf of all these supplements and vitamins and enzymes and these green vegetable powders. And someone said, Doc, you're becoming really new age. And you go, new age? I'm trying to get to the Stone Age. So I still remember that. And I actually wrote a book. It's called 15 Steps to Healthy Living. I do have a chapter on vitamins in here. And I put that in my book because I thought it was so poignant that we're just trying to get to the Stone Age. We're not trying to be new age. So we're trying to get to a time over 120 years ago when there was no herbicides and pesticides and all these chemicals that they put on the fields. Things were natural. Things were, they used to use fertilizer. They used to do traditional rotation method. The farmers did. So you'd be raising a crop on one area of the farm for 7 years, and then you'd take a break on that 7th year, plant something else, and rotate it around. And now they're just planting stuff over and over and using chemicals for growth. And sometimes it's non-escaping what you put on for fertilizer, pesticides, we end up eating ourselves, which is unfortunate. And then not to mention the seeds, a lot of genetically modified foods and seeds are being put into the food market as well. Most are supposed to be labeled, but I have a feeling a lot are not. But I agree with you. Most of our diet, we should be as healthy as we can to get our nutrients through a nice, healthy diet.
Yes. So a real quick overview, too, about supplements. I can't emphasize enough. Quality matters, just like our food quality matters. Absorption matters. And then testing to see if we really, truly do need everything. I'll talk about what I take, and you can maybe share what you take, Dr. Gordy. But then also, I was guilty first 10, 20 years of my practice is I took the same, regiment, every single day. And we need to, just like our diet needs to have variety, our exercise needs to have variety, our supplements need some variety too, so our body can recognize these concentrated nutrients and absorb them and utilize them in our body. So that's just an overview. Quality matters. Absorption matters. We don't just want to have expensive urine. We don't want to have them stuck in When I used to take more x-rays, I've literally seen vitamin capsules in people's
Of course.
x-rays.
Yeah.
Centrum is a good example because
Yeah.
it's all synthetic. So, do you have a overview before we dive into some
Yeah.
specifics about the quality and quantity, et
Yeah.
cetera?
Well, besides, I mean, we all have our own biochemical individuality. We're going to process different supplements at different rates. And like you said, I remember seeing outlines of supplements too. And I asked them, what did you take exactly? So there is such thing as binders, waxers, and these are probably areas that a lot of supplement companies take shortcuts on that should not be taking shortcuts. I mean, the excipients and those binders and waxers keep the vitamins together. And sometimes the more expensive components that they use, the easier it is for our digestive systems to break it down so we get all those nutrients. So what I decided to do today, Mike, is call the Whole Foods. I wanted to find out what they thought was the 5 best sellers that they get in their stores. So I called them up, and some of them are predictable and others are not. So this is what the representative told me. He goes, of course, we all, he said multiple vitamins, no surprise there. Protein, collagen, no surprise there. Magnesium, I think that's getting a lot of press. And I think you said in one of the earlier podcasts, you take magnesium in the form of calm, helps you sleep. And of course, we know that it's good for your bones and mineralization. Yep, there you go. And then, so besides magnesium, he said B12, good for the blood and nerve cells. Then I was surprised at these last two. Arnica, and that's to reduce swelling, decrease pain, and it also acts as an antibiotic. All I can think about are people are crunched over computers for long hours. They're probably in a little bit of pain. They're probably just trying to reduce some swelling, decrease that pain. Maybe they have a cold or a flu or something. They want a little antibiotic. So they're getting the arnica. And I guess there's topical ointments as well for skin irritations. And then the last one he told me is psyllium, which is fiber. And so that tells me that people they don't have enough roughage in their diet. And of course, we could get it through fresh fruits and vegetables, which is loaded with fiber. So that's where it is. I thought that would be interesting to pass on what.
Yeah, absolutely. And January 3, 2024, there was an article by Dr. Mercola, 10 supplements exploding in popularity for 2024. So 10 of the most popular nutritional supplements, including ashwagandha, berberine, B vitamins, including B12, collagen, creatine, omega-3s, magnesium, vitamin D, NAD+, and then it just talks about some nutritional deficiencies are so widespread thanks to soil depletion, like you mentioned earlier, and reliance on processed food that just about everyone can benefit from supplementation of one kind or another. So that's the case for magnesium and B vitamins. That is kind of a no-brainer for most people. So that a lot of overlap there with what your research found in this article. And I'm going to dive into if you could take one thing, Dr. Gordy, to top of the list. Obviously, you can afford and you can take more than one thing. Is there one thing that you would put at your top of your list?
Well, I've mentioned this in a previous podcast as well. I actually had a patient that came into my office, not for her condition, but for care. And she has a job, high stress, really high stress. She's in the financial area, specifically a trader. And she had some other family issues going on. So she almost looked anorexia. She was so thin and skinnier. Skin was just off. She didn't have the color and complexion was bad. Her hair, she's starting to lose a lot of hair. So what I take, the one vitamin supplement, I have it in a powder form. It's the organic protein. That's actually the name of it, organic protein. But it's just not about protein. There is a ton of multiple vitamins. I use that as my multiple vitamin. And it also has 50 superfoods. And so she started taking that. And of course, she took some much needed time off, took a couple of months of leave of absence. and traveled. And then when she came back to Chicago, she came into the office and I was like, oh my God, I hardly recognized her. She started to fill out a lot better and her skin was so much better. She had more hair than I've ever seen. So it made a really big difference in her life. Besides taking time off, that was a big, huge factor, not to dismiss that. But the supplement, I can't but to think that she desperately needed some nutrients and she got them. What's your number one go-to, Dr. Mike? There it is.
Cardio Miracle. If you go to cardiomiracle.com, that's the only product that the company makes. It increases, based on research, the amount of nitric oxide in our system. It increases your vitamin D3 levels, increases blood flow and oxygen, improves lymphatic performance, insulin receptivity, cellular health and reproduction, cardiovascular health, sexual stamina and health, energy and clarity, pain management. It's kind of like a multivitamin in powder form. Number one leading cause of death is still heart-related issues. And so this is chocked full of fruits and veggies, antioxidant blend, vitamins and minerals, tastes great, no sugar, and it just optimizes our nitric oxide, which is found in green leafy vegetables, and that just keeps our blood vessels pliable and flexible and keeps our blood flowing from clumping up. And so that's my new favorite number one. If I had to pick a number two, I would go omega-3s. I don't eat salmon every week. I don't eat enough fish. So I like a good quality. This is wild Norwegian Carlson brand omega-3. I do like the calcium. I'm sorry, magnesium, just because of my diet, and it helps my brain, helps from calcium getting channeled into my cells when I'm on computers and cell phones and things like that. Just to round out the top 5 or 6 popular things, I don't have my collagen in front of me, but I do have a probiotic in front of me. I like D3 and vitamin C. So that's my top 5 or 6 things that complement my diet.
That's great, Dr. Mike. Fantastic. We have a lot of parallels. We overlap. One that I add to, kind of similar repertoire that you have, is NAC. It's one of the most powerful antioxidants out there, and it actually can produce more of the glutathione in your body, which really helps with the antioxidant properties. So what is that? It's basically oxidation. We're all exposed to oxidation. Bad foods, junk foods, fried foods, you name it. Too much sun exposure, exercising too much. All these will oxidize and basically age you. So what the antioxidants does is it gets into the cell. There's a lot of free radicals that become prevalent when you're exposed to oxidation process, which becomes unstable and attacks the next cell over. And what antioxidants does basically is neutralizes those effects. And so it really does work like an anti-aging type of property. As far as the omega essential fatty acids, we get too many. I mean, you break it down to unsaturated fats, which are actually the good ones. This is good for your heart, good for the cholesterol levels, good for overall health. And this is when fats are liquid at room temperature versus saturated fats. These are the bad ones. Trans fats, we get these everywhere, junk food, you name it. These are solid fats at room temperature. So if you cook with these vegetable oil, which isn't healthy, or these other oils, which are not so healthy, and then you make bakery goods out of this and fried foods, ice cream, junk food, these are all saturated type of fats. Not so good for you. And the problem is that our bad fats so outnumber our good fats that we need to supplement with like an omega-3. This is one supplement that you absolutely need. The human body does not generate omega-3. We got to get this from outside sources, what you eat, fatty fish, walnuts, flaxseed, or through supplementation. And we need fat to give our brains health. So that's going to be really important as well. Enzymes, I used to take these, and sometimes I go on cycles where I'll take enzymes, digestive enzymes. And you can find enzymes in foods, especially organic, raw fruits and vegetables, but they also make digestive enzymes in the form of protease, which breaks down proteins, amylase, which breaks down carbohydrates. You got lipase, which breaks down fat. Then you got cellulase that breaks down fiber. So these are great. Somebody's having digestive problems. Maybe probiotics are good. And then add on top of that digestive enzymes, which I think are important. Probiotic supplementation. Normal flora, they call it. It's good. It's the good bacteria in our guts. It's essential for proper digestion and proper nutrient absorption. It assists with fighting infections. It boosts our immune system. So probiotics are really important. I think that's a real common supplement most people say. And what can you say about vitamin D? This immune function regulates our mood, counters depression. It's good for the bones and the teeth. What a supplement. We just don't get enough vitamin D. I think most people are deficient. Most people are deficient, and you need to supplement vitamin D. And then one of the, going back to antioxidants, I really do think it's important. I also take turmeric. Curcumin is also a derivative, and both of these are part of the ginger family. Phenomenal. Reduces inflammation, speeds up healing, good for the tissue and the bones. Great antioxidant. Of course, you can get it through foods as well. And we just talked about how do you get all these oxidation process, going back to that again, adding some more cigarette smoke, smoking cigarettes, alcohol, pollution, chemicals. Some of these are unavoidable. All of those age us, of course. And then there's other antioxidants, A, C, E, selenium, zinc, magnesium, manganese, copper, coenzyme Q10, which is also really good for the heart. And then I take acai at night. And I mentioned that in a previous podcast. And I take acai because it's 10 times more powerful than blueberries. And we all know that blueberries and blackberries, the berry family, are just a high potent antioxidant. But acai is 10 times that. You can get it in the powder form, and that's the way I do it. Mix it in, make a tea out of it. And then you get, of course, in the green powder mix, you can add that to your smoothie, and you get just about everything you need. And then I think it's worth mentioning spirilla and chlorella, and I'll go in cycles with this as well. These are superfoods, usually from a type of algae, like spirilla, for example, that helps with heart problems, weight loss, diabetes, mental disorders, ADHD, anxiety, depression. So spirilla is really a good one. One study showed that 38% regression in cancer activity by taking spirilla. And I don't know what else they were doing. Maybe they were living more of a healthy lifestyle as well and reducing some of the things that might cause cancer. Chlorella, this is eliminating toxins and metals. And of course, like I said, we get that through the crops and all the pesticides, herbicides. It's in our water supply. They did a study through the to different cities throughout America, and they found there's a lot of toxicities in the water straight from the fountain. So if you're drinking water from the fountain, you might want to start immediately getting water that is filtered to reduce the chemicals, including metals and toxins. And then, of course, if somebody has had some procedures done and they've had chemotherapy or some radiotherapy, chlorella would be necessary to help to reduce the effects of that as well. One of the supplements, and this has been around for a while, there was a medical doctor, Jason Theodosakis. He wrote a New York Times bestseller years and years ago called The Arthritis Cure. And I think everybody has some degree of stress on their joints just through life and living. There's a supplement that he really endorsed called glycosamine and chondroitin sulfate. And he had some tests and studies that validate that, yes, this indeed did help the joints and help reduce arthritis in the body. Is a lot of people drink dark colored soda, and this can negatively affect the body's ability to utilize magnesium. If phosphate is tying up the magnesium, your body's not going to have the magnesium it needs. You're not going to have proper bone mineralization. It can lead to brittle bone disease such as osteopenia or osteoporosis. So that's really important. I would really encourage people to stop drinking dark colored sodas just for that reason alone.
Yes, totally
Back to
agree,
you,
Dr.
Mike.
Gordy. Totally agree. Yes, I do like the NAC, and there's a product that I really, really like. I kind of like companies that only make one product because they really specialize in that. But I'm not against the standard processes of the world that have 200 or 300 products. I'm just saying Cardio Miracle is one of those companies. There's a product that I take, ArthroAid Plus, has the 4 components of cartilage, the glucosamine and chondroitin, like you said, the hyaluronic acid, the synovial fluid in there, and then the collagen. And so that has it combined. There's very few products that have all 4 of those combined. So I like the ArthroAid Plus. And then my favorite, the grandfather of enzymes is Howard Loomis. He's a chiropractor. Loomis enzymes are my favorite type of enzymes. You could take a product that's kind of generic that covers all the bases called Digest. But then if you need more proteases because you're having trouble digesting proteins, they have other heavily weighted enzymes for the difficulty people might have or the emphasis they want to have on digestion. So I really, really agree. Improving digestion is really key. And then the probiotics. I just have 2 other categories I would like to talk about and then hand it back to you, Dr. Gordy.
Mm-hmm.
I have an article talked, is ergothioneine the longevity vitamin? People are into longevity and biohacking, and I want to live till I'm 200. And, most people don't even know I didn't even know what ergothioneine is or was. So ergothioneine is the amino acid found mainly in mushrooms as a dietary source, but only a few other sources contain substantial amounts. And what I've seen at co-ops and health food stores is the emergence of not just mushrooms for cooking and eating, but the mushroom powders. And there's a coffee company called Four Sigmatic that they add mushrooms to all of their coffees. And so they say that it improves our telomere length and reduces oxidative stress and is just a huge component to someone's longevity regime. So shiitake, maitake, oyster mushrooms are exceptionally high in ergothioneine. And I'm kind of curious, Dr. Gordy, if you take any mushroom supplements or powders. Or eat mushrooms or like mushrooms.
My wife is a tremendous cook, and mushroom was kind of a staple part of a diet in China.
Okay.
And so I have more mushrooms than probably most people do. And so, yes, do I take supplements for the different mushroom types? No. And I'm learning with you, Mike. You're saying some terms that you're right. I've never heard of some of these. So keep going.
Yeah.
And then I got some information I want to talk about as far as guidelines and manufacturing testing and things like that.
Probably my second favorite supplement besides Cardio Miracle is collagen. And for this reason, collagen-based tissues include tendons, ligaments, cartilage, and fascia, basically connective tissue, all of which tend to get weaker and less elastic with age. Collagen is high in glycine. It's an amino acid. And our body, we need it from our diet. Our body does not manufacture it. So collagen is 1/3 of the protein in our body, and 28% of it is made up of the amino acid glycine. Glycine plays an important role in the aging process. It's a precursor to glutathione, like you mentioned earlier. It's a powerful endogenous antioxidant that declines with age. And so I think it's a really important complement to our diet or smoothie or coffee or tea or whatever that you can add the powder to. You can take capsules too. So glycine also acts as a neurotransmitter and may play an important role in depression, neuroinflammation, neurodegeneration, and cognitive decline. And so that is the reason why collagen is my second favorite product.
I couldn't agree more. Collagen and organic protein are 2 supplements along with turmeric. I just put it in the smoothie. Then I add all the nutrients as I can. I mean, cauliflower is one of the most well-rounded foods that you can get just multiple vitamins, and spinach and beets. And I mean, I'm trying to get it from the real food, but of course that protein that I'm taking also is a multiple vitamin as well.
My last one that I take that I started taking when COVID popped up is quercetin.
Yeah.
And I have an article talking about it's a far better flu remedy than Tamiflu, and it just optimizes our immune system. And it's a plant flavonoid found naturally in apples, plums, red grapes, green tea, elderflower, and onion. Packs a powerful antiviral punch, inhibiting several strains of influenza, hepatitis B and C, and others. Combats inflammation and acts as a natural antihistamine. And that's another reason why I take that every day. And especially if I feel like I'm getting run down and overcome by something. So I started taking that and got through COVID just fine.
During the COVID pandemic, and remember, we got all this information, how you could build your immune system, vitamin D and probiotics, but quercetin and NAC were two big ones as well. And then taking zinc. So basically, they were talking about, hey, we have found the cold cure or the flu cure, and that's by taking zinc along with quercetin, NAC, and those help to get the zinc into the cell that's to basically stop the reproduction of some of this viral attack on the body. Fascinating stuff, Dr. Mike.
Yeah, and one last thing that I love is vitamin C. For a lot of reasons, Dr. Gordy, vitamin C is similar molecularly to sugar. And so cancer cells do feed off sugar. And so what is really cool, if our vitamin C levels are adequate and the antioxidants are on the receptors of our cells, if a cancer cell comes along, it can take into it vitamin C because they might think it's sugar, so they're feeding on vitamin C, so it neutralizes the cancer. It doesn't kill cancer, but it neutralizes it, so then our immune system can come in and create that defense against cancer. And then during COVID too, it's an antiviral. Before all these other super supplements were around, they used to treat colds and flus and all these other things with vitamin C. So I don't think people should forget about old-fashioned vitamin C as well.
There might be some viewers that are wondering, well, what supplement should I buy, or how can I find out if they're good or not? How do I know if those waxers and binders and excipients and all the nutrients are breaking down and I'm actually getting it? Well, there is a manufacturing quality assurance on just about every website that sells supplements, or at least there should be. There's strict guidelines in manufacturing testing to make sure that there's safety and the supplement is breaking down like the label says it is. One of the things that you can look for are a stamp or a certification or a seal. And there's three major organizations that do that. The first one is CMP. And what this is it stands for Good Manufacturing Practice. And what they do is 1 to 2 audits per year of that manufacturer. And it's coming from a third party just to assure that it's the quality they say it is. The other two is the USP and the NSF. And you can check out on a search engine, inquire what those labels, those stamps actually look like. So you can look on the supplements to see if they actually have those approval. And if they do, you're headed in the right direction. And there's a really good source that goes over the entire dietary supplement. Just about every supplement out there should be listed on what's called the DSLD. What that stands for is the Dietary Supplement Label Database. It's from the National Institute on Health. You can also search for Office of Dietary Supplements. And what you'll get is a whole bunch of information. You can break down science references. It'll go into scientific studies. It'll go into supplemental fact, quality assurance. You could just basically look up most companies, if not all supplemental companies sold in the US. So it's a really good resource. And I think the bottom line is that if you go to a nutritionist or chiropractor that does supplements and sells them. You go to a naturopath. Most of these people are going to sell the most quality, highest quality supplements. But I want to preface, like I did at the beginning of the show, is that if you are taking a medication, if you're on some type of over-the-counter, I implore you to consult with your medical doctors to make sure that there's not going to be interaction if you're starting a new protocol, especially with herbs. There's a lot of interaction with herbs, but there's also interaction with other supplements. So I think that's important.
Yeah, great information. Quality matters. And here's something that I think we our viewers would really, really like, Dr. Gordy. Signs of nutritional deficiencies. If you look at your nails, spoon-shaped nails could indicate a B12 or iron deficiency. So you can have some testing to truly see if this is, instead of just racing out and getting some iron or some B12. White marks on your nails could be a calcium or a zinc deficiency. Pale nails is an iron or a biotin deficiency more likely. Brittle nails, calcium, magnesium, and iodine are the suspects. And then cuticles that tear easily, it could be a protein deficiency. Muscles and joint issues. So if you have clicking joints, could be a manganese deficiency. Numbness or tingling could be a B12 or a B5 deficiency. Edema or swelling could be a B1, B6, or potassium. Also cramping, magnesium, could be electrolytes, could be water, but B1, B2, B6 also. Some other skin issues, looking at the nails in the skin or muscles and joints, and I'll finish up with this. Bumps on the back of the arms, most likely a vitamin A deficiency. Dry or rough skin, vitamin A or E deficiency. Unusual nosebleeds, vitamin C, look for that. Easy bruising, look at vitamin C as well. Acne during menstruation, B6 deficiency likely. Dermatitis, B2, B3, biotin deficiency. Red stretch marks is likely zinc.
Phenomenal information, Dr. Mike. Awesome stuff. I was also going to say that now they got some really good blood studies out there. I wrote down a couple. One is called the Complete Vitamin Profile Test. It's a blood test. And the second one is the Nutrient Deficiency Blood Test Panel. So these are other good ways to see where are you with your deficiencies, if you have any. So it's a good way to really check your vitamins and how your nutrient level is.
Yes, absolutely. There's really, really good tests available online. Sometimes you don't even have to go in to see a provider if you want, and you can just get the tests yourself.
That's a good point. They have labs all over the city. Sometimes you can stop in there besides home kits. One last comment from my end. I used to have patients that would come in. They said, "Oh, we go see Dr. Lisa." And I said, "Who's Dr. Lisa?" And they go, "Well, we all go to the Chinatown and there's an herbalist. She sees people with all kinds of different problems." And they go, "We all have digestive issues." So they went there and they checked it out. So I was kind of curious, well, what is this all about? I don't know much about the herbal. So we actually went there. I went there one day to check it out, and there was tons of people everywhere. And the gentleman came out and I said, "What's going on?" And he goes, "Well, I have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD." And he goes, I used to take all these meds and I just couldn't function. I was drowsy and I couldn't function normally. So I started coming to this herbalist to start taking her regimen. And he goes, "I'm not perfect, but at least I'm somewhat functional. I can function the best capacity that my body will allow," he basically said. And so I was so curious. I decided, well, I'm going to go in there. So I went in there and had an evaluation. I talked to her subsequent visits and I found out a little bit about her. She's in her probably upper 60s, been doing this for decades. Her father taught her the trade. He'd been doing it for decades. Their grandfather was in the mountains of China who actually collected herbs, and he had been doing it forever. So she had all this experience. And when we went in to see her, she'd be looking at things that most people aren't aware of. She'd be looking at your palms, your nails, your hands, looking at your skin tone, looking at your hair, she didn't tell us that, but that's exactly what she was doing, feeling like how your respiration was. Knowing a little bit about your history. When did it start? How did it start? And then she, of course, she knew all the herbs so well, she could give specific recommendations based on that. So since then, I was so impressed that I just go in there. I call it my once every quarter detox type of protocol. I do it for a week. It's a really simple process. You get the supplements that she had recommended, or the herbs, I should say, that she recommends, and go through her process.
I'm going to close by asking our audience to think about their number one takeaway from today's podcast that they can share with a colleague tomorrow at work. And then what is the number one action step that you can take based on the information we shared? It could be anything from taking a product that Dr. Gordy and I do. It could be like, oh, I'm out of some vitamins. Do I need to go to my chiropractor or Whole Foods and restock? Do I need to see a provider to get some testing? I see some marks on my nails and my skin isn't great. Do I need to get some testing and see a specialist to find out what I could be doing to optimize my health? So what's the number one action step you're going to take based off what we learned? And also, we're going to talk about stress management techniques next podcast, and just the devastating effects of stress has on our body and how to combat that in your everyday lifestyle. So with 1 minute remaining, Dr. Gordy, take us home.
Thanks for joining us this week. Please like our channel. Please subscribe. We appreciate you. And what a great subject. I'm looking forward to next week, Dr. Mike.
Thank you for joining us on the Health Angle Podcast. Please subscribe to our channel and catch us for our next episode.